Hey there guys, I am the Six Machine and welcome back to another Warhammer video. So the Shadowthrone box is now up for pre-order, so if you haven't done so yet, you can go and grab it, and as a very quick plug, my Element Games link is down below if you want to get an extra discount on it when you do pick it up. But the big news of course is that this means we have seen our first look at some of the datasheets for the units inside the box, and this gives us a possibly decent little idea about what changes and abilities and rules may be coming for the armies in their main respective codexes when they release next year. And so today we're going to have a look at the Custodian Allarus Terminators datasheet and see what, if any, changes have been made to their profile. First up, right off the bat, as you can see on your screen now, the stat line of the Custodes has actually barely changed at all. They still have the same movement 6, 2-up weapon and ballistic skill, toughness and strength of 5, 4 attacks, 4 wounds and a 2-up save. Their leadership has got a bump to 11 from 9, which is quite nice to see in an era where mortal wound spam can often come through leadership shenanigans like the Drukhari grenade launcher thing, but the big thing is no extra wound and no extra attack. And this is a big shame in my opinion. I know some people were expecting both to go up. I wasn't personally, but either an extra wound or an extra attack would have, I think, helped to really make them just feel a bit more special and a bit more elite when we have things like 3 wound Terminators or 5 attacks on the charge regular assault intercessors running around the board in 9th edition. To me, it just feels a little bit underwhelming when you look at how deadly and how tanky so many other units and so many other models are in the game at the moment and compare them to this stat line for the Custodes. I was expecting just a little bit of a bump in either one of those categories. The big plus on their profile is that they can now, instead of 3 to 10 models, be taken in squads of 1 to 6. So you can, yes, now take one-man squads of Allarus Terminators, which is quite frankly amazing and means you can chuck down these guys as almost mini individual heroes and HQ style options all by themselves. And I do actually think this is going to work really nicely with the new Magna Imperator shield host, giving each of these guys a reroll whenever they shoot or fight, and then also helping to keep them alive much longer with that 4-up mortal wound shrug. So I know we haven't seen all of the shield hosts, but this one is still looking really strong for the Custodes at the moment. In terms of their cost, they are currently 3 power per model, and this looks to be the same here, although I will say if you look at a lot of other codexes, 3 power does generally equate to around 60 points, and in the current 8th edition codex, the Allarus are 70 points a model, so whilst this isn't confirmed in any way, I could easily see these guys dropping to 60 or 65 points each, which it's not a huge decrease, but it still would be a very welcome one in just making them a bit more viable on the tabletop. On the weapon front, however, there is some good news and there is some bad news. First up, the grenade launcher got a very welcome buff with an extra 6 inches of range and an increase to strength 5, really helping against all of those toughness 4, toughness 5 and toughness 8 targets, which are really very prevalent through the game at the moment, and this does, in my opinion, make it a genuinely pretty decent gun. But where the big changes lie are in the Guardian Spear and the Axe. Now the Guardian Spear we know is now strength plus 2, minus 3 and a flat 2 damage compared to the previous strength plus 1 and D3 damage, so this is a brilliant buff, letting you hit things like dreadnoughts and medium tanks much more effectively with that strength 7. The Castellan Axe though, oh boy, this is an issue of much contention online. It is now, unfortunately, only 2 damage, not 3 like everyone hoped. Aside from that, it's the same, so with it you will be swinging at strength 8, minus 2 AP, and do a flat 2 damage, which sounds okay, I guess. It's essentially a Space Marine Power Fist without the minus 1 to hit, but in 9th edition where so much has got minus 1 damage, you've got Death Guard, you've got Dreadnoughts of all varieties, you've got the Drukhari Covens list, it just feels really feeble. And I think what makes this worse for the Axe compared to say the Spear is that for what was once one of the best Custodes anti-tank melee options, it just now feels so much worse into a lot of those targets, even though flat 2 damage is still in most cases an upgrade. It's just against the stuff that you really need it to, things like dreadnoughts or the coven lists, it's just going to hit like, you know, a wet noodle. It's worth saying, despite all the naysaying, that flat 2 damage is still, I think, as I said, most of the time a buff over D3. You know, going into regular marine vehicles like predators or rhinos, or going into those 2-wound marines now, or into a load of things like tyrannid monsters, it is still going to feel better than the swingy D3, but it just, the axe looks like it should be 3 damage instead of 2, you know? So I do think this is a bit of a miss in this Custodes Codex, although on the other hand, the axe does cost 5 points to upgrade at the moment. So if the new codex makes it a free swap from the spear, then I think it will be a bit more of a choice to make for people, whether they want to go for the spear or whether they want to go for the axe for that strength 8 buff. If it stays 5 points in the codex, I think the spear is just going to be an automatic pick every single time. Finally, we have the special rules that they show off. They do of course still have the Aegis of the Emperor, which currently gives you your 5-up invuln and your 6-up psychic mortal wound shrug. There are rumours that this is changing to just a flat 4-up invuln, but we don't actually know yet. Hopefully, I think this rule is going to be like the Marine Angels of Death rule, where it has a few smaller rules all rolled into it, because as it stands, based on the Shadowthrone stat line that we can see, they don't have the Sworn Guardians OBSEC style rule either, so I wouldn't be surprised if that sort of thing wasn't all rolled into Aegis now, and it gives Custodes maybe that 4-up invuln, the 6-up Psychic Shrug, and the Objective Secure rule all in one nice easy package. They do still have From Golden Light, which is the Custodes Deep Strike ability, and of course they have the new Martial Qatar system, which has been shown off by Warhammer community over the last few days and weeks. The final rule they have, which we can see, is their Slayers of Tyrants rule, which has been also nerfed somewhat as well. It still lets you pile in and consolidate towards the closest enemy character. However, unlike the current version in the 8th edition codex, this now stipulates that you can only do this if it would bring one of your models into engagement range of that character, instead of just within 1 inch of an enemy unit. So you can't just use it for an extra bit of movement in a particular direction if there's an enemy HQ way off to the left or the right hand side of the board or something. It is a small change, but it is also quite a significant one, I think, and will be a bit more of a pain for Custodes players to squeeze out that cheeky little bit of extra movement in a certain direction for your models. Overall, there are some nice changes here. The move to flat 2 damage is still in 75% of cases a big improvement, and now of course having the extra shield host and Qatar rules, the Custodes are a lot more fleshed out compared to how they were before. The stat line changes are, I will admit, a bit of a letdown, but I will also say, until we know the points of the Allarus themselves, and of things like the Castellan Axe upgrade, it is a bit too early to be complaining that the sky is falling. They may well be 60 points for a Terminator in a unit of 1 with a Castellan Axe, which, with a reroll per turn, a 4-up shrug against mortal wounds, and the new Qatar system, is actually a pretty good deal, I think. But what do you make of the new Allarus Custodian stat line that we've seen so far? Is it everything you hoped for, or were you expecting more? Let me know in the comments below, and as always, thank you very much for watching. Please do like and subscribe for more Warhammer content from me, but until next time, I'll catch you later, guys.